Jeff, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Steve, thanks for having me again.
Good to have you. We are talking about a surge in rental home construction. Developers are building new houses for rent at an unprecedented rate. In 2023, we saw 93,000 new single-family homes for rent were completed, according to estimates from Johns Burns Research and Consulting. That's 39% more rental homes than in 2022, and the most in any year. It looks like that construction pace is set to continue, but maybe easing in 2025. A lot of this is in outer rings of suburbs of states like Arizona, Texas, Florida cities, other places with fast population and job growth. We're also seeing rent growth. It has slowed from its double-digit percentage pandemic peaks, but it's still positive. And of course, a lot of this goes to the issue with housing unaffordability that's forcing a lot of folks to rent. So, some of your thoughts on what we're seeing here?
I think it kind of speaks to the reason why we stay in multifamily. Even with the build to rent side, but if you're talking about product that's being built to sell, your average price across the United States, I think, is something like $520,000. It's hard for people to afford that. Where you can go in and have a rental rate that's cheaper than what a mortgage would be for that same type property. I think the other side you hit on is necessarily rent affordability, or which is something I also just mentioned as well. But I think the one side that's kind of interesting is there is a lot of new product that is coming online, and I think a lot of the Class A is going to suffer because you're going to have a lot of vacancy that's trying to get filled. So I think there's going to be probably a number of concessions in Class A, and I don't think it's going to suit the developers the way that they thought it was going to. But the whole housing shortage is in a state of disrepair, like it's kind of come across to be. This year's projected, and I know I'm rambling, but I'll give this last point. This it's projected 480,000 new multifamily units across the United States this year, which is 40% more than the average over the last 10 years. So I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see what happens. I think your Class C and Class B product is going to be where you're wanting to sit to maximize occupancy and maximize rental increases.
I agree. I think one of the interesting things here is this was really about houses. So we're seeing when it comes to multifamily, when it comes to residential renting units,
Yep.
this is about a lot more than just Class A luxury apartments.
Right.
You're talking about like, yeah, there's, the Class B, Class C that's a little bit more blue collar that needs to be affordable, and we're not seeing so much building there. That I think creates an opportunity. Part of that is the construction costs are so high that it's just, been driving a lot of development at the higher end to get the most square per foot. But now we're also seeing with housing unaffordability, more houses being built, townhouses,
Yep.
multi-bedroom houses. So I think the whole issue with housing unaffordability is really creating a kind of a nuanced market with opportunities that go well beyond just Class A apartments.
Yeah. Look, I agree. I just mentioned Class A because I think in a lot of people's mind, they think Class A and they think that's where everybody wants to go or everybody can go because there's an amenity base there. And you hit something that's probably a pretty broad stroke, which is affordability and blue collar trying to find places to live when they can't buy. So I think those Class B, Class C properties, like I was talking about, make it a little bit easier for blue collar to find somewhere to live when they can't afford to buy a house in the $500,000-$600,000 range.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to point out that we always point out here is the old joke about the three most important things in real estate being location, location, location. A lot of this construction is based around markets that have robust economies that are growing. So you've got the issue that sometimes you have housing stock where it's not needs to be,
Yeah.
and it doesn't exist in places where it needs to be. And that also is pretty important in terms of evaluating these opportunities, is finding those markets that are really set up to keep growing. Hey, appreciate your thoughts. Obviously, this is something we're going to keep covering.
Thanks, Steve.